I've seen a number of clients lately with fatty liver and they're trying to work out the underlying cause as they seem to be doing all of the right things in regards to diet and lifestyle. But there's one thing that could be undoing all of the good work. There's a mechanism operating between the gut and your liver, and most doctors have never investigated. And if that mechanism is out of balance, it doesn't matter how good your diet is. The liver enzymes stay elevated, the liver stays inflamed, and this is dangerous for your long-term health as it's creating oxidative stress. There's a reason those numbers aren't moving, and it's probably not what you think. This video will explain how a direct biological highway between your gut and your liver works, and why it makes the gut one of the most powerful levers for liver health that almost nobody uses. Also, there's a specific enzyme produced by certain gut bacteria that literally unwraps the toxins the liver has already packaged for disposal. And that just forces it to start again and again, recycling the same toxins. And the specific tests that show you whether this is happening in your body, because this is not something you can just guess at. I'm Michael Smith, a naturopathic doctor, and I find most people think that the liver is completely separate to the gut. They're not. Your gut and your liver are connected by a blood vessel called the portal vein. Almost everything you absorb in your gut, every nutrient, every compound, every byproduct of bacterial activity travels along the portal vein to the liver first before it reaches the rest of the body. The liver is positioned here deliberately. It acts as the body's primary filter, catching anything potentially harmful coming from the gut before it reaches general circulation. When the gut is healthy, that highway is mostly carrying useful materials like amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, the raw material the liver needs to do its job. But when the bacterial balance shifts in the gut, when harmful species start to overgrow relative to the beneficial bacteria, that highway starts to carry something different. Think of this portal vein as like a private road with only one destination, your liver. The liver's the checkpoint at the very end. When the gut is healthy, most of what arrives is legitimate cargo that the body wants. When the gut is out of balance, that checkpoint starts receiving this inflammatory material hour after hour, day after day, and the liver has to deal with it. Quick question, if you've had fatty liver, have you ever had your gut fully investigated to check if that's the cause of your liver health? I mean a comprehensive microbiome assessment, not just a simple stool test. Let me know in the comments. Let me explain what actually happens when that bacterial balance tips the wrong way. The gut is home to trillions of bacteria, some beneficial, some neutral, and some actively harmful. And when the balance shifts towards the harmful species, a state called dysbiosis, those bacteria produce these inflammatory compounds called lipopolysaccharides, or LPS for short. They're also called endotoxins. And these are just toxins produced by the body. LPS gets absorbed through the gut wall and travels straight down the portal vein to the liver. The liver recognizes LPS as a threat. Every time it arrives, the liver mounts an immune response. Small amounts of this are completely normal and manageable. But if you have dysbiosis, that signal isn't just occasional, there's a constant low-grade, relentless inflammatory input into the liver. So even if you change your diet, that's not going to change the LPS reaching the liver. In many people with gut dysbiosis, the gut wall itself becomes permeable. A healthy gut wall is selective. It controls what passes through into the bloodstream, and a compromised gut wall lets significantly more LPS into circulation. This is known as leaky gut or intestinal permeability. So the liver is now receiving a higher volume of inflammatory signals arriving more frequently because the gut wall has lost that filtering system also. It's one of the reasons that two people can follow exactly the same diet protocol and get completely different results. Now, I also want to explain a second mechanism, and this is significant for some people. Your liver detoxifies through a multi-phase process. It takes potentially harmful compounds, environmental toxins, spent hormones, metabolic byproducts, and it packages them into water-soluble parcels ready for safe disposal. Those parcels get loaded into bile, released into the small intestine, and they should exit the body via the bowel. That's the plan, and it works well unless a certain enzyme gets involved. Certain gut bacteria, when they're present in high numbers, they produce an enzyme called beta-glucuronidase. And this enzyme does something that directly undermines everything the liver just did. Your liver carefully packaged those toxic compounds, sealed them, labeled them for disposal, and beta-glucuronidase starts to open up those packages so the toxins get recycled back into the body. This means the liver just has to reprocess those toxins again. And this is why some people can do everything right, clean diet, right supplements, consistent exercise, and their liver enzymes still are elevated. The gut is actively undoing all of the liver's work, and no amount of dietary improvement will fix that. I've done a dedicated video on beta-glucuronidase going into a lot more detail why it happens and how to fix it. I'll leave a link in the description. But the key point right now is that enzyme is measurable. You don't have to guess whether this is happening in your body. Most doctors don't routinely run stool tests. And when they do, it's usually a basic one, just looking for specific pathogens. It doesn't look for things like beta-glucuronidase, leaky gut, pancreatic enzymes. They just check for a handful of serious pathogens like Salmonella, Campylobacter, and maybe certain parasites. They're great for ruling out an infection, but it's not going to understand the gut health and whether you're making enough of the good bacteria or whether you have high levels of these enzymes or leaky gut. The tests that actually show you this are comprehensive stool tests, and the ones I use most in practice are either the GI map test or the gut Zuma stool test. These tests use DNA analysis to identify and also quantify what's actually living in your gut, and they're far more sensitive than the standard culture-based tests. They measure beneficial bacteria, the opportunistic bacteria, pathogens, and specifically whether you have elevated beta-glucuronidase or leaky gut. That way it helps us to target the treatment precisely for you. The GI map or the gut Zuma, they can just be ordered and done at home and sent back to the lab for analysis. These can be shipped worldwide, and I'll leave a link in the description below so you can find out more information about these tests. If you've been diagnosed with fatty liver, the first thing to do is change your diet and lifestyle. I'll leave a link in the description on a detailed article describing how to do this. And if you've done this for 8 to 12 weeks, and you're not seeing improvements in your liver enzymes, this is a time to look at the gut and how it may be affecting your liver. When you first start the diet, make sure you increase your fiber. This can help to promote the right bacteria and also reduce down harmful bacteria that produce the LPS and also beta-glucuronidase. The bacteria that produces beta-glucuronidase tends to thrive on a low fiber diet. And also stay well hydrated. Bile flow depends on it. And also make sure you're not constipated. Even if you don't have high beta-glucuronidase, if you have chronic constipation, you're going to be reabsorbing toxins back into your system anyway. A test like the GI map or gut Zuma test can help to understand why you may be constipated, if you have high levels of beta-glucuronidase or other pathogens or dysbiosis that are driving the high LPS and affecting your liver. This helps to take out the guesswork, and if you have high levels of beta-glucuronidase, there's targeted treatments that you can do like specific probiotic strains and also calcium deglucarate to help lower the beta-glucuronidase. Next, watch this video specifically on beta-glucuronidase and check out the description below for the links to the tests I've talked about, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments.